Hey now, we are moving on to the second part of our password validation where we need a way to check to make sure the user inputs a password that starts with a letter of the alphabet. Okay, so we're going to learn a couple of new things here. The first thing I want us to look at is how can we pull out the first character, okay? How can we pull that out so we can just look at what the first thing a user types? One of the ways that we could do that is with the substring method. Okay, so don't type this. I've just got this up here for demonstration. If we here I've created a phrase called Stranger Things. Strange enough, I have not gotten to watch any Stranger Things because I'm always at my computer working on stuff for you guys. So you are interfering with my Stranger Things time, but that's okay because it will be summer break soon enough. Okay, so since that phrase stores Stranger Things, I can use a substring method, S-U-B-S-T-R, and the substring method, it has two parameters. The first parameter is what index value do we want to return. So say we want the S in Stranger Things, we would do a 0. And then the second parameter is how many characters we want after that, okay? So if we just wanted one character, if we just wanted a 0, like if we just wanted the S, period, we could run that in the browser and look, there we have an S in our console log, okay? But what if I change this to, say, 5, okay? So I'll come over here, refresh, that gives me strand, because it's 0, that's the 0 index, so it starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically, okay? What if I change this to 1? Well, then it should start at the T and return 5 characters. So I should get Trang. And I do, I get Trang. Okay? So see how that works. It has two parameters. The first is what index you want to start in the string. And the second is how many characters that you want. Okay? So let's come back to validate password and see if we can use that to help us determine if the first character of the password is a letter. Let's create a new function, and I'm creating this directly underneath my validate password length. We're going to call this check first char. And I need to get the first character, so I'm going to create a variable called first char, and I'm going to set that equal to what happens when I go to the password input box and I get the value, and then I take that value and apply the substring method to return the first index character, and I only want one character returned. Okay? So that's going to return the first character that the user typed. If the user typed in pickles, it would return P. Here I go again with the pickles. Okay, so how are we going to check to see, like, am I going to have to do like a bazillion ors, like if first char exactly equal A, or, and like just keep doing that? Oh, that would be crazy, right? Oh, it turns out there's an easier way. Do you remember when we talked about ASCII code? May not have even talked about that at all this semester. That might have been way back in HTML days. So we can actually use these numbers to reference less than or greater than or less than. So notice that our capital A starts at 65, and they can be uppercase or lowercase, so that goes all the way to 90, and then our lowercase is 97 all the way to 122. So how about we just use those numbers in a conditional statement? Okay, so we're going to have a lot of parentheses. I always want to call them curly brackets. We're going to say if first char is less than 65. So that means in our ASCII chart, if it's an @ sign or any of these over here, okay? Or, And this we're going to say is this block in here, 91 through 96. Or, sorry. I know y'all hate watching these as much as I hate making them. Someday we'll be back together again. And y'all can make fun of me for making these awful videos. And first char less than 97. Or first char greater than 122. Okay, hopefully y'all got all that. I didn't talk it out because I was too busy looking at my other code. All right, if that is the case, then that means they did not meet the criteria. So we want to call that error message function. So we're going to say, hey, let's call that error message function, and we need to send it a parameter. We're going to say your password, we're sending an argument actually, should start with a letter of the alphabet. Okay, now else, we need another check variable. We need to go up here all the way in our global variable section, and we need a variable called check first. We're going to set it equal to false. And this is, again, false if criteria is not met. So false if it does not start with a letter of the alphabet. Okay? So that would mean if this is false, if this condition is false, then check first is true. Okay? Now let's go update this in our validate first password. So if check length is true, remember this function, and I might just put a comment up here, this function is going to check all criteria for the password. Okay, so if check length is true and check first is true, okay, notice I've got this underline. What does that mean? I told you in the last video, remember all of our conditions have to be individually in parentheses, but also the entire condition needs to be in a set of parentheses. So watch your parentheses. Okay, so now that's going to check and make sure that those two conditions are met in order for it to validate the password. But we also need to reset, add that variable to our reset variables. And we also need to call our check first character in our validation form variable. So, and I'm going to make sure that it is right above my validate first password. So I'm going to do check first char. Okay, so this should work. Let's see if it does. Refresh. So let's start with a 1. Boom. Should start with the letter of the alphabet. Let's add a letter of the alphabet. Submit. I get a green check mark. Okay? So we have this part working. All right, email me if you have any questions. I know we've got a lot of code and a lot of functions, but I think it's kind of fun that we're getting to explore a lot more with these bigger projects. Okay, I'm about to sneeze, so I'm going to go. Bye.